Harimi, harimi, al tirai, harimi, al tirai. Imri le'arei Yehuda, hine Elokeichem. Harimi, harimi, al tirai.
Okay, page 212, the middle of Siman Peiches. We're in the middle of discussing the 5 different levels that the body and soul interact in. That we are, as human beings, we are a combination of a body and a soul. And there are 5 situations and 5 different ways that we will learn, well, dependent on the time periods in human history, that the body and soul interact. So we're on level 4, so we'll just go over level 1 to 3. Level 1 to 3 are the highest levels that we discussed. And it's a little bit hard for us to understand the details because we're going to learn that we're on level 5, which is the lowest level, so it's a little bit hard for us to understand the higher levels. But the first level is that there is a body and that there is a soul, except the soul is in complete control and the body has no influence on the soul anymore. And it's like it does exist, the body does exist, but there's absolutely no influence on the soul. We learned a principle in the Ramchal that La'asad Lavo, in the world to come, that our body is still going to exist, but it's going to be in a changed form. Now, what's the reason the body still has to exist? The body still has to exist because Hashem's justice demands it. In this world, we serve Hashem through our body and through our soul. So it only is fair that our body and soul gets rewarded. So La'asad Lavo, in the world to come, the body will exist, except it will have absolutely no influence on the soul. That's level 1. Level 2 is that the body also exists, and it doesn't have a specific influence of the soul, but it will still have an effect on the soul. How so? He compares this to someone who went through a very hard time, and he has some sadness in his heart, and it's like a residual sadness, and he can't necessarily pinpoint it, or someone who worked very hard, and he's not at his full strength. So the body is having that impact on the soul, but it's not in a particular way. It's just in a general sense impacting the soul. That's level 2. Level 3 is that the body will have specific influences on the soul. And whereas level 2 is just a general impact on the soul, this level 4 is specific influences on the soul. Okay, now we're not even close to where we are yet, where we are in this world of the body and soul having that interaction. We're not even close to where we currently experience. So let's continue. Let's go Madrega Dalet, the 4th level, on page 212. Shia Haguf Sheled B'chol Pratav. This is where the body rules over the soul in every detail. V'yimtza ha'adam ve'atzmo kol anyanim hagufanim. And we find that a person is physical. But just like now, where we live in our current world, that the soul is like a stranger in the world, right? How's the soul in this world? This world, we're in a physical world, and the soul is like a stranger in this world. So the soul has to go in every way of the body. It has to go in bodily ways. So in this 4th level, which is a higher level than we're at now, it's the opposite. The body rules over the soul in every way. However, because of the place that it's found in, the body is like a stranger to the soul. And he's going to explain an example of this. It's a very famous example of this. And he's going to talk about it. But the neshama is what rules. So even though the body has an impact on the soul is what totally rules. But the guf needs to go, the body needs to go in the way of the soul. Like it says, when you go to a city, do like its laws. What is this like? To Moses, when Moses went to accept the Torah from the Jewish people, he didn't lose his body. But since his body was like a guest in the world of souls, it changed. It changed to do like the souls do. Like the rabbis say, a person should not change from the custom of the city, right? We know that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to accept the Torah for 40 days. He didn't eat, he didn't drink. How was he able to do that? So Right? So the Ramchal is saying that his essence didn't change. The essence of the relationship between his body and soul didn't change. However, because of the place where he was, his body did like the soul and was able, the soul was what ruled totally, and the body was able to go after the soul. Now, he's going to say it's not the essence of the body-soul relationship that changed, but just because of its place. Right? I always thought that, before reading the Ramchal, I always thought that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the Torah, he was just like, I don't know, some spiritual being or whatever. I shouldn't say I always thought like that, but that's one could have thought, that he's just some spiritual being. But it's not true. He still had his body. It was just that because of the place he was, the body did not have an impact. The body changed how it acted towards the soul.
They plugged in the adapter?
Could be. But he's comparing it to now here. Just like our soul is a guest in this physical world, doesn't really belong here. So too, Moshe Rabbeinu's body was like a guest in the Olam HaNeshamas, and it did like the soul do. Soul does, right? Like our soul has no interest in eating and drinking and, doing physical things and playing football, but it does it here because it's a guest in this world. We find that the change that that happened at this time period was not an inherent change, but because of the place that it found itself. And it wasn't a complete change. And that the body had no impact on the soul because it was like a stranger. And it had to go in the way of the soul. But in this fourth level, so in this stage, this level 4, the body is totally separate and it's totally noticeable, except it's not in its proper place. And it has to negate itself because of the soul. And we don't see any particular impact of the body, and all the more so in the levels above this. So the levels above this, what's different from this level, level 4, is that the levels above it is that there's an inherent difference between the relationship between the body and the soul and the impact of the body. Here the body exists and it doesn't have the impact, but it's because of the place it finds itself. Okay, let's do the last level. Madriga, hey.
Till now, we're at no point is there zero body.
Right.
But this Madriga is interesting because it's saying it seems to be physically there totally, or almost totally.
Right. Without,
it just doesn't need normal bodily functions because it adapts to its surroundings.
So it depends. I don't know what I don't know what he means exactly by no tolodos. It has no impact and has no particular impact. So does it look different? I don't know. Not sure exactly. Okay. Madriga, hey, this one might be the most familiar to you, or the only one familiar to you. It is to me. That the body rules over everything like a man who rules over his house. Shekol in Yanav b'takvam b'chol tadesem. Every impact of it is in its full force. V'gam zos hamadriga nachlakas l'shtayim. Even this level, this fifth level, is separated into two. V'afal pikein hakol madriga achas. But nevertheless, it is one level. V'zeh kinyani haguf afilu b'bechinas haguf yecholim lios b'shtei drachim. When you have a body, in every aspect of the body, it could be in two ways. O derechol umayse behema, or it could be in a profane way. The body could behave in a profane way, and like an animal. K'mayse rov b'nei adam, like most people. O derech kedusha v'avoda, or the way of holiness and service of Hashem. Ke'enyan, it says b'chol derecha de'eu. It says in all of your ways I will know you. Bios hakol b'kavanam yusheres karoi, and that everything is with the proper intent. U'kamoshi elas alavu, and like it will be in the future. Bizman shenamar, like it says, v'nasati lechem leibasar, I gave them a heart of flesh. Kamoshahai roy lios la'adam u'malichet, like it will be, like it was fitting that a human being would be had he not sinned. Avol shneim ke'echad heim al kopanim and yonim gufanios, but nevertheless they're all physical beings. Kil echol tzarich lishta tzarich, because a person needs to eat, a person needs to drink, right? Even a holy person needs to eat, just like a non-holy person needs to eat and drink. V'yav shebalav hachin, it's impossible without this. Yachilu shtia shalchulin. O shel kedusha, but he can eat and drink. It could be holy or it could be profane. V'zeh v'zeh inyan gufani hu. But nevertheless, it is a physical creation. He's comparing this to when Mashiach comes, right? As we mentioned before, when Mashiach comes, the world does not change. The only thing that changes is that people will recognize, what's a big thing, I shouldn't say the only thing, that people recognize that Hashem is in charge, and there's one God, and the Yetzer Hara will kind of will be dead, and people won't want to sin. They'll
I think
still
it's
have
a bigger change than any other changes.
Could be, yeah. But the physical world, my point is, the physical world as we know it is gonna be the same. Now, people will still have their bad habits they have to get out of a little bit. But people will know what's right and wrong, and they'll serve Hashem. But it's still going to be a physical world. And that's really what the world should have been had Adam and Rishon not sinned. Now, after Mashiach comes, and then after Tchias HaMesim, which happens after the resurrection of the dead, then after the end of the 6,000 years, then the world's going to be destroyed and recreated. Then we're going to learn about all these other levels, which the Ramchal is now going to go further, and he's going to tie in how these 5 levels fit towards these different time periods. But you see that even in the 5th level, which we're at now, you have a choice of how you want to observe it. We're definitely all physical. The greatest rabbi who ever existed had to eat and drink. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he wasn't receiving the Torah, also had to eat and drink. And the biggest Rasha, L'Avdil, has to eat and drink. We're all in the physical world. The question is how we use it. Right? Today, do you go to the beach and have a barbecue? That could be derech chol, or do you come to the JLC and have a barbecue for a siyum, which is derech kedusha, to honor the Torah. So we all have a choice, even though we're all sharing this physical reality, and that our soul is like a guest in this world. We have the choice of how we want to utilize the physical world. We're going to use it for kedusha, for holiness, to get closer to Hashem, or we're going to be like Rov B'nai Adam, like he says, the majority of people, and go after our physical pleasure. So if anyone tells you ever, most people do this, don't listen to them, because here you see it says most people go after their physical desires, spend their life acting like an animal. You have it right here in the Ramchal, as if you didn't need proof for that. But we should all go after the ways of Kedusha and come to the scene at 5 p.m.
Sounds good.
What's
The interesting is, it seems like in the Ramchal, it's a different